rushing wood rush rivering. I am body, bone, and dust to wind, storm of sea, wave unraveling. Where the raven flies, I will lie, floating, wavering, and gracefully crashing the sand into mountains. And upon my chest you will run, you will rest, you will pile up your pillars made of me who blows them down. Can you fathom deep this unseen? Can you trust in this the fruits I yield to you to shape them?
I'm Ayla Nereo from Oakland, California. I create music that is half about the sound and the instrumentation and half about the words. And so it's been really exciting to look and see who are the artists that have led me to this point of where I'm at. And it's really fun to see who has been there from the beginning and has brought me in some way or another to this point of where I am making music. This first one is Cat Stevens, who has been probably the biggest influence on my music and inspiration, I guess is the better word. We couldn't find an actual Cat Stevens album in the library, so we've got Yusuf Islam, which is his current name, and his music just, it comes from this place of really this kind of journey perspective, seeking something, seeking out who am I, why am I on this planet. And his words, even, I think even before I was even making music as a child, they really moved me, and I felt kind of a common thread, especially as I did start making music, with the ways that he asked those questions and wanted to kind of create something beautiful in the world through his music. And so that's a kinship I share. Another thing about his music that I love is the epic quality and how it's so big, and it's got this, like, I feel like there could be a musical that is entirely scored by Cat Stevens songs, and actually I really want to make it someday. When I first heard this music, for whatever reason, it struck me so deeply that I needed to learn guitar, and it was really one of the huge catalysts for me even picking up a guitar in the first place and learning how to play it, because I wanted to play these songs, and learning how he put his chords together and the different melodies. The way that he does his melodies are just beautiful, and then his words, I think at the time I was more consciously influenced by the music of Neutral Milk Hotel, but in retrospect I was probably pretty influenced by the words too. It's kind of that rawness that I really loved, and I felt like there was a fearlessness in that, the way that he writes his words, and fearlessness is something that I aspire to in my music, and so this was definitely one of the bigger influences when I started playing music. There's a reason that he influenced so many people, and it's because he was a poet, and he really was doing something new and something really universal with his words. I really felt like he was a master of words and a real wordsmith, and I wanted to be a wordsmith, and so I really studied him. I remember I went abroad to Oxford, England, right after I started writing music, and I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan out there, and at the same time was listening to all this ancient folk music that, going out to actual pubs where people would just play this old-time English folk music and Celtic folk music, and I was writing journals and journals of words and poetry and songs, and, none of them I really play anymore, but there was a lot coming out and working that word muscle. I remember after a while having this experience of trying to write words and then listening to Bob Dylan and actually feeling like he's so good I can never come close, but I would still try. Shortly after starting to make music, I started collaborating with my brother, David Nereo, and we formed our band, Beat Beat Whisper. We got a lot of comparisons with Simon and Garfunkel because our main focus was weaving our voices in harmony. David and I had this experience a lot of times when we found that right harmony, we would burst out giggling. Or when you hear a beautiful harmony on, of anyone's, you want to either laugh or cry. When you just hear a guitar or two guitars and two voices, it kind of brings you in this state of peacefulness and receptivity. It feels like, the word harmony has a much bigger meaning, and it's something that we sort of aspire to in our world as human beings, to live in harmony. And so when we hear it with the voice, I think it strikes that chord, and we sort of breathe deeper and get to just feel good. She is someone that I haven't listened to quite as much as these other artists, but has been really a deep influence in my music, and a lot of it has to do with her voice, and the way her voice is kind of strange and unusual. And there was, when I first heard that, I felt this kind of almost a bravery in that. One of her songs, I'll try and sing like her. She goes, "Little wheel spin and spin, big wheel turn round and around. Little wheel spin and spin, big wheel turn round and around." And she does this warble with her voice, and this kind of like, it's almost like the crone, like this old woman, and it pulls me back in time, and I loved getting transported like that, and I love music that does that. And a lot of artists that, Pete Seeger and other artists that have gotten maybe more well-known than her, more famous than her, were very influenced by her. And I feel like she was an artist in the whole folk movement of the 70s that was kind of almost in the background to some extent. And she was quite a presence too, in terms of, kind of embodying a lot of her culture, the indigenous people that were here long before this was called the United States, and singing about that and singing from that place. I also wanted to bring her in because she's a woman, and I'm a woman, and a lot of the people that I've been influenced by have been men, and I think part of that is because, just the way things have gone down in history, it's just a little bit easier for men to be successful artists and musicians than it is for women. I feel very inspired when I hear another woman who's really singing her truth and really singing in a way that is not trying to fit into a box or trying to be beautiful or trying to do this or that, but rather it comes from the heart. That is bravery.
Home.